If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror, we'll cover all the subgenres. So join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies. Inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Astounding Tales of the Public Domain with Father Malone. Stories of our future from the distant past. Enhanced audio performances from the golden age of science fiction. Featuring tales by Paul Anderson, Marion Zimmer Bradley, Robert E. Howard, Ray Bradbury, and more. Tune in to Astounding Tales of the Public Domain with Father Malone at weirdingwaymedia.com. Weirding Way Media.
Hello there, I'm Chris Stashew.
I'm Mike White.
And this is Father Malone.
And we are the hosts of Dreams for Sale, a monthly look at the Twilight Zone 1985. On this episode, we're going to be looking at episode 3 of season 1 of the Twilight Zone. That episode is broken down into 3 segments: Healer, Children's Zoo, and Kentucky Rye.
Ah, Jackie. You're a small-timer, a roof crawler, a poke pincher, a nickel-and-dime grifter with salt in your dreams and ashes in your pocket. Don't cut that wire. Jackie, don't open that window. You won't be able to jimmy yourself out as easily as you got in. That's not the big score in there. It's the Twilight Zone.
And so Healer aired on October 11th, 1985. It's directed by Sigmund Neufeld Jr. It's written by Michael Bryant. Stars Eric Bogosian.
Yep.
Vincent Gardenia,
Wow.
and Joaquin Martinez. Episode centers around Eric Bogosian as a small-time crook that finds a special rock that may or may not possess special healing powers. So what did you guys think of this episode?
So have you not encountered Eric Bogosian before?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
No, I haven't encountered Eric Bogosian.
Wow. Okay.
That's incredible. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. You
Eric
need
Bogosian,
to go back and watch Talk Radio.
Talk Radio, Oliver Stone's movie of his play, his one-man show. Eric Bogosian, fantastic actor, good playwright. Does a lot of one-man show type stuff where he cycles through a bunch of different characters. Like he's got a famous one called Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll that was actually filmed as a movie by John McNaughton, the guy who did Henry Portrait of the Serial Killer. Check that out.
And he was also the bad guy in a movie that we've talked about before, Chris, which is Under Siege 2, Dark Territory. He was the bad guy.
Somehow I don't see him as a very believable villain up against Steven Seagal. But then again, I don't really see Steven Seagal as a very believable hero anymore either, so what do I know?
And just to be a completist, Michael Bryant was the pen name of Alan Brennert. So I'm not sure why he took a pen name for this particular thing. it's not like it was a an Alan Smithy or anything. But yeah, I found this to be a simple but solid story. It was fairly predictable. I mean, pretty much everything that you could see as far as everybody's arcs going through it. Other than at one point, I thought for sure Vincent Gardenia was going to collapse right towards the end of the story. But other than that, I predicted pretty much everything that was going to happen. But it was okay. It was a satisfying story. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I felt like more than any other segment we've seen so far, this one felt the most like the original Twilight Zone, and I'm not saying that in a good way necessarily. I think Bogosian's performance is pretty solid. I think all the performance is pretty solid. I do think it suffers a little bit from the mystical immigrant-type character that we've encountered in other series recently. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing much to it. It's not bad. It just compared to particularly the last episode we saw, it suffers by comparison, I think, more than anything.
Yeah, the whole idea of the immigrant guy coming in and like, you've taken something from our culture. It was like,
magical Negro, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it reminded me of, which is kind of unfortunate.
The object itself is just sitting in their museum anyway. Like, right. He doesn't think to come and take it until it's stolen, and then he finds the guy who stole it. A little bit interesting there.
And if there are no bad repercussions, there's no, like, monkey's paw curse on this thing, why aren't you using it all the time then?
Well, there are repercussions,
exactly.
Right?
There are repercussions if you, if you, like, try to make money off of the power, or you become heady off of the power, then yeah. But if you are of pure intention, then there's no repercussions. So you would think that some mystical dude from South America or whatever would be absolutely fine using that all the time.
Yeah, and why is Eric Bogosian's character the first person to figure out this thing's power?
Right.
Well,
nobody who came in contact with it?
The little foreign gentlemen, again, they're not really forthcoming with what nationality. His tribe clearly knew about it, and he says that that's not what it was used for.
I just think, obviously somebody found the artifact at some point, that it was able to be transported to New York or Los Angeles, one of these major cities that this episode took place in, and like nobody got harmed in any way, and the thing never came to life before. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe too much about it.
Well,
I actually understand why Alan Brenner took his name up.
My issue with this episode, like you mentioned, Father Malone, is it feels very much like a run-of-the-mill Twilight Zone episode. And very much so in the vein of A Little Peace and Quiet, which felt very formulaic, very predictable, very almost generic compared to something like Shatterday, or even some of the two segments we're going to be talking about later from this episode, Children's Zoo and Kentucky Rye. Kentucky Rye feeling a little bit more formulaic as well, but this just feels pretty rote. It's not, it's almost 30 minutes long. It doesn't need to be that long. There's a lot of fat that could have been cut out. It's just okay.
Yeah, and to speak to your point, Mike, when the stone finally takes its power away, like the wound reopens in Eric Bogosian. Eric Bogosian's character is like a cat burglar, not a particularly good one. He steals this rock from a museum. During the escape, the security, an overly zealous security guard, we should point out, just shoots him on the way out. And the rock heals him, and then when the power goes away, then the wound reopens. But the rock was also used to save Vincent Gardini's life, who was effectively dead. So when the power goes away, it only affects Eric Bogosian for some reason. I agree with you. I thought Vincent Gardini should toppled over at that point.
Yeah, that's what I really thought would have been the poetic justice, where he's like, oh no, I can make all this money and blah blah blah, Vincent Gardenia being all mean about stuff, and then when he refuses to help Eric Bogosian, I was like, oh well, maybe now you should not be helped either. I thought that would have been nice poetic justice. But
I mean, I think it has something to do with Eric Bogosian's character being the one who was using it.
Maybe.
Not to give this episode an out, because it doesn't deserve it, because yeah, the rules of this episode that they set down are pretty much broken right towards the end, but like the kid uses it to heal him, but he doesn't like understand how or why to use it, and just touches him, and that's okay. It's the same thing. It makes no sense. The kid can't even hear what they're saying because he's deaf, so he doesn't even know that he needs to heal him with the stone.
That is true, but he is pure of intention, and he just wants a fellow human being to be okay, probably.
Yeah, not only do we have the magical foreigner, but we also have the magical person with a disability as well.
Of course. It's like Stephen King wrote this one.
Yeah, this episode is not much of anything, to be perfectly honest. It's just okay.
Yeah, it was. I liked the actors that are in this, though I didn't think they were necessarily, given that much to work with. I really like Robert Costanzo, and I like Vincent Gardenia, and I like Eric Bogosian. But yeah, I kind of wish that the three of them would have been in, a Jules Pfeiffer play together or something like that instead of this Twilight Zone segment.
Yeah, it feels kind of woefully inadequate, the material for what are effectively a trio of powerhouse actors. I kept thinking the same thing. This is Eric Bogosian very at the outset of his career, and given what he was able to do later with his own material, he feels underserved.
Yeah. It's okay. It's just okay. It feels very similar to A Little Peace and Quiet, where it's like you've got all these great actors and you give them really nothing to do. You're trying to tell this interesting morality story that you kind of see where it's going pretty early on. Let's talk about the next segment in the episode, Children's Zoo. Children's Zoo was directed by Robert Downey, written by Chris Hubble and Garrett Graham, stars Lorna Luft and Stephen Keats, and it centers around an invitation to a unique zoo that offers a girl a solution to her bickering parents. I really like this. I think it's fun. It's very much in the vein of Dreams for Sale. It's pretty short, pretty straight to the point, has a really interesting premise, and really well done. And plus we get to see Dad Wes Craven in it, which is probably the best thing about this entire episode.
It's certainly the thing that I remembered most about the episode. I think even at the time that it aired, I kind of knew who Wes Craven was, having seen Nightmare on Elm Street, and so seen interviews with him. So having him pop up was a nice treat. A little bit of continuity for the series, given that he directed so many of the earlier episodes. I agree with you. I think I love when they do these interstitial kind of episodes, just sort of shoehorned in between the main ones. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's kind of a one-note idea, but it doesn't belabor that. So I did enjoy it. And I got to say, Stephen Keats is one of those guys that he died pretty early after this episode aired. But the few things that he was in, I always really appreciated him. He's in a movie called The Friends of Eddie Coyle, where he's playing a gun runner, and he is spectacular in that. So it was great to see him in this one.
Yeah, this was really nice. I mean, we talked about Bob Downey on the last episode. He was in the segment Wordplay, so having him come back as a director for this and then having Craven being a bit part in this one. This was one of the segments that I remember from all those years ago. So seeing this again, I was like, oh yeah, it brought back some fond memories. And yeah, it's nice, quick, simple. It's got one main idea, and then just the way that they execute it, I thought was really kind of nice. So I highly recommend this one.
Yeah, and it's a really unique and novel premise, and the name I think is pretty apt as well. And it feels very Twilight Zone. And that's a good thing, but it feels like a fresh Twilight Zone idea as opposed to a recycled one from earlier seasons of the show back in the original run. And I think that that's what makes this fun. And again, it is so lean and straight to the point and kind of a really novel concept. And again, you get to see Wes Craven as kind of a whacked out, threatening father. So it's a very interesting, little interstitial. I think it works just about as well as Dreams for Sale.
Definitely. I love it. I think it's a good, like you, Mike, I do remember this one vividly. This one did stick out in my mind. And as you said, Chris, it is so Twilight Zone-y in its approach, but it does feel of a piece with not only with Dreams for Sale, but maybe some of Rockne O'Bannon stuff, where it's the spirit of the Twilight Zone, but it doesn't feel sort of slavish to the rather high-minded or sometimes misguided earlier Twilight Zone episodes from the 60s. This felt of its time, and it doesn't suffer all these years later. I think it's still pretty good.
Yeah, and you also have kind of a really interesting choice to have a non-speaking protagonist as well, which...
Geez, that is true. That kid doesn't say anything, does she?
Yeah. She says, nothing. Even when she's asked by the kind of the ticket taker at the children's zoo, kind of where she got the ticket, she doesn't talk. And I think that that's just kind of an interesting choice because it really reinforces the innocence and kind of the innocence of the child in the episode and kind of the choice that she's given, which is such a bizarre choice. But it really plays upon something some of us may have felt when we were kids, which is, don't you wish you could trade in your parents for somebody else? I mean, you can't choose your family. And so it's kind of an interesting play on that idea.
Yeah, I think we've all felt that at one time or another.
Yeah, and Sheila and Martin Cunningham are two of the worst parents ever, so it was kind of nice to see them get thrown into a cage for a little while.
Thrown into for a long while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of those parents clearly did not learn their lessons inside that cage.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
That's the other thing that I find really interesting is thinking about how long some of those parents have been in there. Like,
yeah.
The parents that she ends up picking, they're like, well, he was 7 when he brought us here. And it's like, holy shit, how long have you been there for?
Right.
Which is, again, a really kind of interesting idea and kind of concept. But this is, I mean, again, 7 minutes, and it really it does everything it needs to in 7 minutes, which, again, puts something like Healer to shame, because Healer told this elaborate story that kind of fell flat in 27. This tells a really compelling story in 7.
Yeah, and more thought-provoking and more memorable.
Yeah, This is going to stick with me over a weird morality story that we've seen a million times in a million different forms. Let's talk about the last segment, Kentucky Rye.
Bob Spindler, new owner and sole customer of the Kentucky Rye. A hell of a tavern where last call goes on forever in the Twilight Zone.
Kentucky Rye is directed by John D. Hancock, written by Delreed Todd and Chip Duncan, stars Jeffrey DeMunn, Michael Green, and Arliss Howard, focuses on Jeffrey DeMunn, who plays a drunk driver that finds himself in an unusual bar after an accident. This segment is fantastic, and it's really held together by Jeffrey DeMunn really going for it as I would say, a pretty believable drunk.
Extremely believable drunk.
Yeah, DeMunn is one of those guys where you have seen him so many times and you probably just don't know him by name. Most famously, I think, being one of the guards from the Green Mile, who's probably the least memorable one, but the quiet one. And here he is not quiet at all. He is just completely balls out, going for it, and that's exactly what the role needed, and I thought that he pulled it off great. And it's always such a treat for me to see Arliss Howard, who wasn't in that many things, or at least for a long while he was kind of out of the game, most famously again as Private Cowboy from Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, that's true. Always great to see him. He's good no matter what. And he's not given all that much to do here, but his performance is... he's got a weird, haunting quality to him anyway, so how appropriate for this particular role.
I just always remember Arliss Howard as the main villain in Lost World, the guy who gets eaten by the T-Rex at the end.
That's right. Completely disappears in that role.
Yeah. And he plays... the grown-up version of the kid in The Sandlot. But
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good pull.
I believe he's uncredited as well. But the kind of weird thing that I always remember about Arliss Howard, and this is a personal thing, is him and I ended up actually going to the same college, completely in like the most random Columbia college in the middle of Columbia, Missouri, when there's a major university there. We ended up both going to the same college. So that's kind of the thing I always remember about Arliss Howard.
Was he your roommate?
No, he's... Yes, Mike, I forgot to tell you, I'm 64.
You're in the dorm together.
Wow, you guys dorm together, you and Arliss?
I swear to God.
Why isn't he on this episode?
Debbie?
Come on.
Yeah.
You holding out on us?
By?
No, Deborah Winger did not come by. Give me a break. Jesus Christ.
Man. That would have been awesome.
You guys.
What was that movie they did together? I cannot for the life of me remember the name.
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, come on. Deborah Winger is like under house arrest, and she lives in a trailer, and it's like a fire starter type movie.
Wilder Napalm?
Wilder Napalm, that's it. Okay, thank you.
The Sandlot?
No problem.
I like that movie. Dennis Quaid is a psychotic fire-starting clown. I love it.
Jesus Christ, how have I never seen this movie?
I'm making it sound like it's better than it is, but it's actually pretty good. Just take a look.
Now, if it was Randy Quaid, I could get into that.
He's a star fucker. He's a star fucker, dude.
He's already crazy.
Yeah.
That Wilder Napalm movie is written by Vince Gilligan, of all people.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was.
I see a future episode of the Culture Cast coming up.
Probably not. However, back to this episode. As much as I like this episode, it is pretty formulaic.
It is.
Yeah, I'm actually not the biggest fan of this episode. I thought it was okay. It suffers from the same things that Healer did. Like once this guy gets to the bar, to me it was quite clear that he died in a car wreck, and this was going to be his eternity.
Yeah, and the only question for me was Arliss Howard the devil, or was he the victim? But then when he was there with his wife, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, they're the victims.
I'm not saying
spoilers.
It's bad. It's just kind of there. The performances are what elevates it.
It's it's another of these kind of morality stories, but it's predictable. This feels like a very old school episode of Twilight Zone. I could see this in the original run of the show, and there was an episode in the original run of the show that was very similar to it, the Helgramite method. It's, kind of deals with alcoholism, but not, again, this is pretty overt. This is pretty to the point, and it just, again, at the end, you're like, oh, okay, so he's dead. And
it did feel a bit like it was clucking its tongue at you, like, don't you drink and drive out there.
And then I also feel like my other issue with the episode is it goes too long at the end. There's like this weird thing.
Yeah, it just continues.
Yeah, there's like this outro narration, and then there's the bar like owner is laughing, and then he's like, I never wanted this. It's like, we could have ended a minute earlier, and this would have been still underwhelming, but it just goes, it's like they left the camera on for like a minute. They were just like, this will be fine. This is good stuff. He's kind of, emoting for the camera. It's like, you don't need this. We get it.
Yeah, the use of narration in this episode overall was weird. Like how the narrator is talking to the Eric Bogosian character, like, don't do it, Jackie. Don't do it.
Oh, yeah.
Stay away. And it's like, okay, that's weird. And then at the end, how he like gives his outro, and then the episode continues. It's like, no. As soon as he's done talking, roll credits. Let's go.
Yeah, the episode does not need to continue past the end narration. That's the way Twilight Zone has been and should always be.
Right.
Well, I mean, they could do it. It could be an interesting thing where they're sort of ignoring the narrator and continuing. But that was not their mode here. Like, it's just an odd episode overall in that regard.
Having Jeffrey DeMunn throwing bottles at the mirror and screaming is not compelling footage. Just on the face of it.
Right.
No, they spent the money on those bottles and those mirrors, so production value alone, they gotta include it.
It's not a bad segment. It's just when the one segment of the episode that stands out is the 7-minute segment, we have a problem.
Well, yeah, and that's the only one I remember from this all those years ago. The Children's Zoo is the one where I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this one, and the two on either side, I'm like, I probably saw these. It wouldn't make much sense if I didn't watch those.
Well, the 7-minute segment was the only one with a new idea.
Oh, I completely agree. The two on either side are very similar, too. They're telling a very similar story. Like, one character ends up being irredeemable, and the other character is redeemable, but it's both of these kind of, don't do bad stuff or bad things will happen to you. And it's like, okay, thanks, Twilight.
Yeah, the less morality, the better, I think. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a morality play necessarily, but this isn't the way to do it. Like, the ones that are most effective are the ones that just kind of go in, tell a weird story, and then jump out. I mean, it's hard to beat Shatterday so far this season.
I still really like Chameleon, but it is hard to beat Shatterday.
Or Wordplay for that matter, actually. I'll take it back. I think Wordplay is probably the best one I've seen so far. As far as like bizarre premise and ramifications beyond that, and in no way talking down to the audience. I felt a bit condescended to by the bookends on this one.
Oh yeah, no, the whole don't drinking and driving thing is just like, we get it. You don't have to really overdo it. You don't have to beat us over the head with it. We got it.
Right. Sponsored by MAD.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. I'm surprised there wasn't a number at the end. If you know someone.
Nancy Reagan comes out at the end.
Yeah, in the bar.
Right.
We've been having some fun here, kids, but
now it's time to get a little serious.
This is crack. Rock cocaine. Pee Wee Herman PSAs. Pee Wee Herman was just like a pint of beer. This is beer brewed fresh for you. Don't drink and drive. That's what the whole episode. So, what did you guys think of the episode as a whole?
Skip to the middle.
Yeah, I would agree. 100%. The bookends are pretty unremarkable compared to the center.
And again, not to say that those episodes were bad. I think they're good. They just feel of an earlier time. Like, I think if those had been in the original 60s series, I wouldn't be as hard on them as I was for something that was coming out in 1985. I think some of these writers, like, really embraced the idea of, the spirit of the show and ran with it, and then there were others who were feeling a bit slavish and beholden to the original series. So go Children's Zoo. That's what I gotta say.
So on the next episode of Dreams for Sale, we're going to be talking about Season 1, Episode 4. That contains 3 segments. Again, it's Little Boy Lost, Wish Bank, and Night Crawlers. So until then, where can people find you, Father Malone?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, Op5 Films. My show is called You've Never Seen. It is a reevaluation of some older movies that have fallen by the wayside or never got the love that they so deserved in the first place. And you can also hear me on another podcast entitled Chronicles from the Crypt, where myself and a co-host named Casualty Chris, we go through the original HBO television series adaptation of the EC Comics, Tales from the Crypt.
What about you, Mike White? Where can people find you?
They can find me here and over at the Kolchak Tapes, which is at kolchaktapes.com, where Chris and I talk every month about another episode of The Night Stalker from 1974-75, and also the one from 2005-2006. Luckily, we only have 3 more of those 2006 episodes to go.
Boy, isn't that the truth? They took all that goodwill that they'd started building up and just flushed it down the toilet.
Yes, indeed.
And you can find me over at the Culture Cast, where my co-host Eric and I talk about movies. Kolchak Tapes, I'm on there as well, and Chronicles from the Crypt. However, you can also find me on Twitter at Culture Stash. If you want to follow Dreams for Sale on Twitter, it is at Twilight Zone 85, and also at twilightzone85.com. You'll find links over to iTunes where you can rate and review the show. And big thanks, as always, to Roxy Drive and Neutron Dreams for the intro-outro music. And make sure to catch the next episode of Dreams for Sale.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week, and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.